Welcome to the 624 Pod, your home for all things independent films. We're going to discuss all the positives and negatives when it comes to independent filmmaking. We're going to have incredible guests from the film industry talk about behind-the-scenes experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how the industry has changed in the past 10, 20
minutes.
30, minutes, hours, years. That's the point. It's always changing. And of course, we will always focus on independent filmmaking right here in our state of New Jersey. I'm Tom Baldinger.
And I'm Mark Rigodano.
All right, let's do this.
All right, Tom, who do we have this week?
This week's episode, we have a friend of yours, a friend of mine, a friend of both of ours. We have the accomplished producer, director, writer, Ronnie Marmo. Ronnie, thank you so much for joining the show. Ronnie has a fantastic show tour that's going on right now called I'm Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce. Ronnie's also been in multiple films. I'll let him tell he's been on TV, General Hospital. He's done some amazing work. He's produced, he's directed. So Ronnie, thank you so much for coming on to the 624 podcast.
Thank you for having me. I wore my best t-shirt for you guys.
I love it.
Hey, I got Tom Kiefer on underneath. We're both 80s rockers.
Oh, listen, I'm still incredibly loyal to what I listened to in the 80s. Nothing has changed. Nothing. It's amazing.
So on Friday, they released, because Friday was Eddie Van Halen's 3-year anniversary of his passing. Wow. They released, it's called Van Halen The Collections #2. And it's all the Sammy Hagar songs, all the albums. They re-released and re-recorded them. They like bumped them up the sounds and stuff like that. Because the first album with Hagar was 5150. And you listen to it, and it just sounds like, because when they made it digital, it just didn't sound right, and they remastered it. And I was listening to it last night, again, just sticking to the old 80s, and it just sounded amazing. And even my son, who was here earlier, he called me when I was at my daughter's softball practice. He goes, "Dad, I'm listening to the Van Halen Collection 2. It sounds amazing." I was like, "Of course it does."
You know what's amazing about that? You guys know, as you mentioned, I do the one-man show about Lenny Bruce. It's called I'm Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce. I'm writing my next one-man show. It's called I'm Not a Guitar Player, I'm Eddie Van Halen.
There you go.
That's me, baby. 1987.
Is that you? It looked like Van Halen.
Look at that. It does.
That's hot for teacher.
That is hot for teacher right there.
I'm not a guitar player. I'm Eddie Van Halen. That's my next one-man show.
But speaking of your one-man show, I got to meet you. We have mutual friends, but I got to meet you in person doing John Fugelsang's show. Mm-hmm. And then my wife and I came to see your one-man show, and it was amazing. It was fun, and it's bio. What would you call it on stage? It's not a biopic.
No, but it's a bio. Yeah, I don't know. What do you call it?
It's a bio stage.
Bio stage.
We'll make that up. It's
True
a new
story.
word.
True story.
So talk to us. So tell us what's next. What's going on with? We've both seen the show. I've seen it multiple times. What's next for I'm Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce. What's next?
So we're doing great. We're booking all these great cities. The next place we're playing, I'm playing November 30th through December 3rd. I think I'm playing San Diego. And it's the second time this year. And it's really unique because when you do theater, it's different than stand-up. When you do like a theatrical production, if you get booked in a place once every 18 months, that means they love you. You can't bring a show back so fast. And I did the show, I think it was, I don't know, like March or April this year. And we sold out 2 months before we got there. So they're like, "Hey, you want to come back this year and do another 5 performances?" So it's really cool to be in a situation where because that's pretty unheard of, and I'm very grateful. Yeah. So, and it's always a great thing to do when I don't have to get on a plane to perform. I like that I drive to San Diego from LA.
You actually get to see your house.
I know. Whenever I can sleep in my bed, man, that's amazing. We just got off a 20-day tour, and I slept in 5 different beds in 7 days.
Wow.
Oof. And I was in South Bend, Indiana, and Fairmont, and we were in Chicago and Indianapolis, and we were all over the place, and literally 5 different beds. So when you do that, you wake up in the middle of the night, you got to go to the bathroom, you're banging into walls, you think you're in place your best. So it's nice to get back to your bed. But things
the only other profession that you do that is
exactly. But anyway, it's great, and so we've got a lot of cities lined up, and a lot of great conversations happening. In fact, there's 3 different New Jersey theaters all asking for me to do the show there maybe this January.
Awesome.
Nothing's locked, but 3 different theaters in a 2-week span. Which
can you say who they are, or
I don't want to say yet because I might blow
right.
the deal. So
I got you. That's good.
Until it's signed, you know how that goes. But you'll be the first to know. I'll text you.
Bring it back to New Jersey, which you are originally from, Woodbridge, New Jersey, correct?
Woodbridge, New Jersey. I'm a Central Jersey guy for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So for anybody who's watching and
listening,
doing theater, and wants to do film, wants to do theater, now you have this traveling show, and it's essentially a one-man show. You're going around, and how do you try to balance to be able to get, you still do film, you still do television work. How do you balance it? Or is it just kind of throwing caution in the wind of like, I think I'm off this month and I have this open and maybe I can do that? The nightmare of logistics being on a traveling show.
It's pretty stressful. Yeah. But the good news is like when you book a city, like I said, it's very rare if you book a show and it's at least a year out. So you know that. So you're doing film and TV, like you ask them to work around you, or you put yourself in a position where you're helping make the decisions, which is what I like to do in film and TV the most. And so you just kind of schedule accordingly that way. But it's certainly logistical. But as an actor, like, whenever you get opportunities, you got to figure out a way to make it happen. So you just do, you figure it out. But it has been stressful. There has been times when I had to pass up on like a great audition when they were doing The Offer. I couldn't read for it because I was in Chicago playing the sellouts every night. I said, I'm so sorry, I have to pass on to be able to read for it. And so things like that have happened, but you just kind of go quality problems, champagne problems,
Yeah. Because I heard the opposite story with we were talking about earlier. Paul Provenza was on tour with Steve Martin's show, and he had opportunities for these auditions, and it was like he took off and they had an understudy come in for one audition, and then he didn't get it. And then the same casting people said, this guy's doing another show and he really wants you for this, but you have to come and read. But like, he's basically giving you this part. And they were like, yeah, we can't do the understudy thing again. You blew your moment.
Wow.
Well, that's why it's good with this show that I'm actually the producer as well. So I can kind of decide what I want to do. I've looked for an understudy, and someday maybe I'll find one, but I haven't yet. So I really did try it really hard, but I haven't found anybody who I feel like I'd be comfortable running.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the whole understudy, because we were talking with Jackie Burns earlier, and she's doing Titanic off Broadway now, and it ran from June to January, and then it got extended another 6 months. So it's going to be running for a full year. And I asked her, I said, how many performances are you doing? How many are you doing versus your understudy? And she said, oh, no. I do all the performances. Maybe once in a while I let the understudy would do it. And it's like, for you, you're like, this is me. This is what I want to do. I leave it up on the stage.
Any actor watching this, if you're new in the business, never let your understudy go on, because the director goes, oh, they're interesting, because they've been looking at you for months or a year. Forget it. I don't care if you got 104 fever, if you're limping, get on stage. Don't let your understudy work. I know it sounds terrible, but you're not as interesting when they see another take on it. They go, oh, that's interesting.
Now, what would you say to actors who are understudies waiting for that opportunity?
Get a wrench and break the leg.
I mean, don't just sprain the ankle. There's got to be a break.
Because this guy will go on limping because they just got the advice.
I have gone on with 104 fever, like sick, terribly ill. So I would say, honestly, if you're an understudy, treat it as an opportunity to watch and learn. And there's value in that, because there was a time not too long ago I did do it. And, just butter up and try to be charming to the actor playing the role and see if they'll throw you a bone when your parents are in town, you know. But really, do it for other reasons. Do it for the opportunity to learn and grow, and that kind of stuff.
Now, when you're acting and you're on stage and you do a lot of theater, you have a theater company is bi-coastal, so you're obviously hitting the stage a lot. But
Theater 68.
Theater 68, New York, LA,
Yep.
probably will have. But now you're doing a theater piece. You're working on Lenny. You're out on the road. You get a phone call. I got this part in this film. Now you have to make the adjustment. What are some of the adjustments you make to go from your theater piece to a film, and not the obvious of it just being on camera to stage, but on stage you make that character feel intimate, even though it's in a 500 seat theater or whatever. How do you make that switch?
Technically it's really different, and people who don't respect the differences, you could see that on screen. My first few movies are like, I'm so embarrassed because I'm like, I'm like Roberto Benigni on 10 cups of espresso. So like, I had no idea that like I should sit on my hands and just kind of keep it very still. So I had to learn how to do that. It's a very different thing. So I would say anybody who's trying, like, just checking both out, make sure you respect both of them differently and try to learn how to do them. I was working with a great actor. Her name's Liz Torres. You've seen her in a million things. She was on All in the Family. She was the maid, but then she was in Gilmore Girls. She played Miss Patty. She's been in everything. And she played my mom in a film. And we're sitting around doing this scene one time. And I said, Liz, and to me, she's a legend. And I was like, so sometimes I just can't stop with my face, I'm so animated. And she goes, I've been fighting my face my whole career,
Wow.
And it was a relief to me to go, like, because she's a theater person first, like I am first.
An older pro is having the same problem.
Oh, she's like, I'm always fighting my face. Sometimes I'm like, stop it. I was doing another movie, and my friend Brian Austin Green, came to set, and I was like, I was all over the place. And he goes, sit on your hands for this whole scene. I'm telling you, it was a nice romantic scene with this girl. He goes, do not let your hands, sit on your hands. So I sat on my hands the whole scene. You could see it in the movie, me just sitting on my hands. And it was some of the best work I have ever done. It was so simple and so honest. And I was so like, I didn't waste all that energy, I just, you kind of channel it to your face and your eyes and your thoughts, and you keep it really simple. But when you're a theater actor and Italian American, you got a big problem on your hands. We're all like, it's crazy. So it's really, for us, it's even harder to.
So Ronnie, being on the road with Lenny Bruce show, you and I have talked about this. You and I have had conversations where, it was the day after you ran the show and you were exhausted. You're exhausted, right? You're leaving so much on the stage. How do you find the energy and the power to do that? And, go to all these cities and go to all these different theaters and sleeping in all these different hotels. What would you tell actors who are, up and coming and or, seasoned actors? What are some of the tricks and trades that you're do to keep that?
What's a process?
Yeah. What's the how do you keep that passion going?
Some actors I know who are very well established, you would know them. They think I'm crazy in the first. They're like, you're nuts to do this. It's already like it's, tight wire act, whatever the hell you call it. So it's a little crazy to do it in the first place. But how do I do it? It's like, basically, if you're an actor and you aren't really passionate about what you're doing, then you can't really dig this deep. So I first care so much about Lenny. I feel like I'm doing something for Lenny that he didn't get to finish. So I feel like I'm here on his behalf, genuinely, and I don't mean to get too spiritual on you, but I really do feel like I'm going to continue his voice because his got stopped short. And so I just, if you see me 5 minutes before I go on stage, or you go, this guy's a wreck, he's never going to go out there. Like I say, I'm not going out, forget it. I'm not doing it. Full house, forget it. The second I go out there, and the second I take a breath, and the second I get that one laugh, or I feel the energy, something just switches in me, and I'm like, this is what I do. I love it.
Mm.
What I do. So if you don't really love it at some point, I think you will be found out and you'll probably leave doing it. You won't do it very long. I think, at some point, I don't want to say a fraud, but I do think like if it's not really what you do or who you are, at some point it might get a little too much because I'm exhausted. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of, if you talk technically how I handle it, I have a little mantra that I say throughout the whole show when I feel like I'm not paying attention or I'm exhausted or the audience is not giving me anything. I say to myself repeatedly, listen to the words and listen to yourself. And that's it. And so when I take the words moment by moment, word by word, and I listen to the words and then listen to myself, meaning how they affect me, it propels me forward into the performance. And then because I'm probably an untreated ADD, I'm sure of it. So every other page, I'm trying to settle down and recommit because it's not easy for me to stay focused, And so listen to the words, listen to yourself. And I have another mantra, nice and easy, nice and easy, nice and easy. So that's how I get through it. And then I see how the audience feels about it. And then I go, it's like we're sharing this thing. And so then that kind of takes me over the finish line, their love for what I'm doing.
Have you? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say what you're saying right now is I feel like what you felt when Torres was talking to you, because I'm going every time I go to do stand up, I'm waiting to go on. The MC goes to bring my name up, and I go, I could just leave right now. I'll just walk out the door. I get in my car. I'll drive home. Nobody needs to know I was even here, and I'll start a life doing something else. I'll just get out of this shit. And then as soon as I walk up to the microphone, I have no idea what I'm about to say. And I go, fuck it, you'll think of something.
You know what? You're a
just
true
start
performer.
talking.
You're a true performer. Because it's true. You are that person. That's what I mean about the truth and not the truth.
I almost crap my pants every time I have to go out. And I go,
every
I'm
time
going to quit.
And
I'm
in
quitting.
my situation, I have to literally get naked. It's the only show in the world that I start the
Yeah, you start off stark naked.
Dead naked on the toilet. So like I'm the only guy who has to undress to go out on stage. And so here I am naked.
Exposing yourself emotionally is not enough.
Listen, I've got 1,000 people in the audience going, and I'm standing behind the curtain naked, standing here listening to 1,000 people mumble, mumble, mumble. And I hear Joe Mantegna's voice, my director, his announcement, and I go, oh my, what am I doing? What the hell's wrong with me? And then you get out there and it's like,
Here we go.
It's the best. It's the best.
Ronnie, have you? You hear professional athletes say this, and even my son will say this when he's in net, right? And he'll have a great game, or you'll hear these professional athletes have these great games, and they say during that time it's almost as if they blacked out. And you're like, like I said to my son, I'm like, do you remember that great save? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I'm so in a zone.
You have to watch the film.
Yeah. Have you had moments like that where you walked off the stage and either your wife, Janelle, or somebody has said to you, oh my God, what you did was amazing. That one line when, when the court scene and you're on your knees and you're screaming up. Have you ever gone, oh, I don't know what I did. I just did it. Like, do you ever black out?
I've done this monologue 428 times for an audience, 90-minute monologue. And I would say 400 of the times I've had exactly that experience. The other 28 is really difficult when you're standing on the side of the stage watching your performance. You ever have one of those when you're watching the performance? It's the worst. But so do I black out? Yeah, those are the nights when it feels like the show was on for 10 minutes and I want more. Yeah. And I want it to end. It happens all the time, but that's when I get lost in it. I listen to the words, I listen to myself, and it catapults me somewhere else. The nights that I'm like, I'm pretty good at this, and that's when I fall on my face. Like I always feel like I have to start with a respect for the words for this 90-minute massive undertaking. I have to start with a respect and a vulnerability for that. And come from a genuine, like, I don't know if I'm going to remember the word. I still don't know if I know the words. I've done it this many times. I still am not sure I'm going to know the words the next time I do it. And I think that's why I keep doing it, because I'm humbled by it. and I don't think I'm all that good at it, which is a good thing. You know what I mean?
You're a stand-up comic. That's what you are. You're a stand. You're describing everything that a comic has. Before the show, I look at my notes and I go, I don't have enough material to fill in this time.
Mm.
I don't have enough. I don't even know what I open with. What am I going to do? And
Oh.
I just, if I'm on stage and there's a fire exit next to the stage, until I talk into the microphone, I'm contemplating going right out that fire exit and walk out. And then when you're on stage, the only difference I feel like with doing when you're acting on stage and when you're doing stand up is how you lose yourself. I think a comic, when they're in their flow, they almost like see out of their third eye or above them because they're scanning the audience to make sure everybody's laughing and figuring out everybody's happy while their body's doing the show. And there's like somebody looking at the audience like, oh, there's a lot of old people. You know what? You better do the stuff about your kid. You know, like you start to pipe down.
Totally. There's nothing better than when you're in total control of the room. There's nothing better as an actor, as a performer. And this one-man show, people ask me all the time if I'm a stand-up, but I'm like, I have too much respect for stand-up comics that I can't say that I am. It's a hard job, but I think I could do it. And I do it as Lenny. I do a lot of stand-up in the show. But it's nothing better than when you're, because I play to 1,000. I played to 1,600 people in Pittsburgh. 1,600.
Nice.
And it was amazing. But I see the one guy in the 10th row to the left who's got a miserable face.
Yeah. And that's
like,
all you think about.
Oh, the whole time I'm trying to make him happy. And I've got 1,599 people like laughing and this one guy, what's wrong with him? It's crazy. And I think though, for anybody who's like trying to do this, I think if you come at this from the point of view of like just humility and passion, I think you got a shot at being great. I think if you come at it like you're any good at it, I mean, look, off the air, I'm happy to share with you guys off the air some great actors who we've seen their work, and then one day they woke up and they clearly figured out they were a great actor, and then their work changed. A few great actors where I'm like, oh, he knows he's a good actor now. I see what's going on here.
Right.
I hate that. And I hope I'm never that guy because.
You know, it's funny you're saying that because I was just talking to my wife about this. If you read Robin Williams' book, Robin, and you didn't know who he was, you'd go, this guy's a total failure. He didn't.
I know.
Because he
greatest.
The entire book, he wasn't a funny enough comic. He didn't do enough stand-up. He wasn't a good actor. Anything he ever got was by accident. He didn't deserve any of it. And you're just going, if you didn't know he was Robin Williams and you just read this book and it was like Bob instead of Robin, you would go, this poor bastard, total failure, wasted his life.
And you know what, man? And here's what he did. First of all, he's one of our greatest talents.
Yeah,
for sure.
What he did was he created from that broken, vulnerable place. And that's what I try to do when I'm on stage. Like I try not to create from between my ears. I try to create from that place that I don't think I'm very good. And I'm vulnerable, because that's when the magic happens. Because I really do believe people don't go to the theater to see me. They come to the theater to see themselves in me. And they want to identify. And that's what I really believe.
Wow.
So I open myself up almost like, here's me, and I hope I represent all of you. And there's been a few times when I thought I was pretty damn good and it didn't go well, man. And so it's like when I'm coming from that place of like insecurity, vulnerability, fear, that's when I think it's at its best, you know?
We hear it all the time as comics. If you're talking backstage and like, so how's things going, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, you know, things are going good. So I'm waiting for the big bomb to drop. Soon as you think you're like, man, I'm crushing, you're about to get your ass kicked. and then you go into it.
That's why you keep doing it. There's a challenge in that, you know?
Yeah.
Now,
there was some greats used to do this, and they talked about it at the club when I was a door guy. Some really great comics. I'm talking about like it was like Louis C.K., Greg Fitzsimmons, all these really strong guys who knew they would kill. And they would purposely go out and throw the first 3 minutes and try to get the audience to hate them, say the most horrific thing just to get the audience to hate them, and then see how long it took to win them back.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember as a door guy sitting there going like, God damn it, I just want to win one. Like you're purposely throwing half the game so you can. That's crazy to me.
How great is it though? It's like, to me, when I hear that, I think like, how amazing would it be to be that comfortable being uncomfortable, but just knowing like, this is what I do, and this is who I am, the balls it takes to do that.
The
Like
confidence.
I admire that. And maybe they're confident, or maybe they're self-deprecating and think they suck anyway. And in a way, and that's where the brilliance is, you know.
The sadness of comics is they're both.
Yeah.
They're extremely arrogant, broken people.
Well, that's why these great comedians, once they like get a TV show and they get that house in Beverly Hills, they don't write from the same place. Their material, kind of like we saw, and there's the greatest comedians of all time besides Pryor and Carlin and Lenny, guys like Eddie Murphy. There was no funnier than Eddie Murphy.
He's in my top 3.
Yeah. And I'm not saying he's not funny now, but I'm saying once you sleep, once you start sleeping in satin sheets, it's hard to write the material.
Well, didn't Eddie Murphy even say that like years later when he stopped doing stand-up, and he said, I don't think I'm funny anymore. I can't go back to that.
I think he's still funny, but the problem is people are fighting and, scraping together the money to go see Eddie Murphy, and the opening line would be like, your Lexus ever run out of gas? Well, this isn't funny. Right. I don't have a Lexus.
I don't have a Lexus. He's not relatable anymore.
And he knew that.
Eddie Murphy Raw, nothing was better than that, man.
Oh no, for sure. Delirious and Raw, those were his 2 best. And
but there are a lot of guys like that suddenly they get money. There's very few that could actually get the payday and still be great.
Yeah,
that's really fair because they a broken place.
It's something that kept Seinfeld safe is it's observational, it's not personal. So Serial is still Serial, whether you're a billionaire or struggling, it's still Serial. So if you do a joke about Serial,
he's like,
everybody will relate.
What's the deal with Tide? About Tide. It's so funny. He's talking about Tide. Seinfeld is one of the cleanest comics, and he just tickles me so much.
So Ronnie, you spent some time here talking about the amount of preparation, the amount of work, the amount of passion that you put on the stage with the Lenny Bruce show. Have you had that experience in TV or film in a role where you were on set, whether it's studio or independent, where you had a blackout moment where you gave everything and you walked off and you go, oh wow, that was.
I hope I was good. Or I don't remember it.
I don't remember it. That was exhausting. Like that was like. Have you had moments like that, or have you seen, as a director or a producer, have you seen actors go through that?
Yeah, I mean, I have. There have been moments. I mean, blackout in terms of the same way I would black out on stage. I don't think so because you're shooting 2-3 pages, and like I could tell you when I did Criminal Minds. The character I played in Criminal Minds.
Yep.
Those 5 days I was on set or whatever it was, that was a real journey. And I kind of had that experience where like I was just in the work. It's really hard to just be in the work when you've got 80 people staring at you and you're doing 2 pages and then they flip the camera around and they get the other side of this scene 8 hours later. It's very hard to stay. I always say they don't pay me to act, they pay me to wait. And pay me to be ready when it's my turn again. That's what I get paid for, not the acting part. So yes, I've had moments where I got lost in a character, but not to the extreme that I would in a 90-minute performance in front of a few thousand people. And because Lenny Bruce, I mean, people think we deal with it on the road when people book us. They want to use the cute smiley face, and I want to use the middle finger, And when I get there, they go, oh, it's a beautiful theatrical production. The lighting, the sound.
Right.
They think they're getting a stand-up routine. And I go, no, this is. So to do Lenny, the emotional, I always say it's the funniest tragedy you'll see. There's a lot of funny, but it's tragic. And so I don't think I could compare stage to film and TV. I've definitely had moments when I got lost in a character and then the shoot was over and I was like, wow, I'm really proud of the depth and the work. But to like black out completely, not really. Maybe certain scenes for a little bit, but nothing like a 90-minute ride on stage.
Yeah.
When it's you and the audience and nothing else. And as we mentioned earlier, I do start to play dead naked on the toilet. And people, lights come up. It's a very striking first image. People either giggle or they let out a breath. They don't know what to do with that information.
Right.
And what I'm saying to the audience, might sound corny and a little kooky, but what I'm saying to the audience is, this is as vulnerable as I can be. So can you come on this ride with me and be vulnerable with me for 90 minutes? Like, will you come with me on this ride? And sometimes an audience that'll translate to them just from that moment. And somebody will tell me afterwards, like, wow, I really felt. And so I'm like, okay, you got it. So that's really, it's hard to create that on a film or a television because the stopping and starting.
And plus with independent filmmaking, when you have lots of low budgets, it's get in, get out, get it as quickly as possible. There's, as an actor, you have to prep as much because that the producer and the director, they only have 6 hours to shoot this, shoot 10 pages or, 8 pages. And so, as an actor, you have to be prepared and ready to go once it's ready to rock and roll, especially for independent films. Would you agree with that?
Oh, are you kidding me? It's even harder when you are somehow on the producing team and you're acting, because then you have the internal clock that you're trying to shut off because you want to do your best performance, but yet we got to go. And so therein lies I've been very blessed in my career to have produced 15 things or whatever and directed a whole bunch of things. And so within all those times, that's a struggle that no one sees, but I'm having.
And we had that with the three of us on Unsuited, right? So Ronnie, you're one of the producers of Unsuited, our TV series that we're making, and you as a producer, and you're sitting there as the actor, co-starring in a scene with Mark in the bar in Woodbridge. I'm sure you're probably going, Tom, we got to move along, right? And I'm sitting there as a director, right? So it's
I did. I'm on the scene like acting in it, going, Tom, come on, we got to go, we got to get.
Yeah.
And no, it's a funny place to be because you can't fully give yourself to either, but hopefully you feel like, okay, you're professional enough and good enough that you'll do a really good job. And that's why with Lenny, when I'm on, Joe Mantegna is my director, and the reason I could be as good as I am in this show is because I turned my whole will and trust over to him and said, please, like, help me with this. And so I trusted him. And so do I worry about producing and stuff? Sure, I do that. But when I'm on stage in the rehearsal process, it was just him and I, and it was a different thing. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna wrap up here. But we do, unless you have it.
No, I'm excited for the question.
All right, so we asked this question of all our guests. And I think I'm going to do it a little bit differently with Ronnie, because we talked a lot about stage.
Yeah.
But we talked about film and the whole process. So I'm going to give you the option to answer this. The question is, what are your 3 favorite films, or 3 best films, and 3 theatrical shows, whether it be musical or non-musical?
And I'm going to throw a curve in.
Go ahead.
For the theatrical, instead of it just being your 3 favorites that you want to be in,
so not ones I've performed in, my favorites that I've seen,
or you could redo.
You could redo, yeah, or that you performed in, yeah, for sure, whatever, yeah.
So they could be my 3 favorites, not like Goodfellas, because I love Goodfellas, but I wasn't in that. So ones that I performed in, or ones that I just love.
No, the ones that you just love for films. 3 films that you absolutely love. 3 films
you love, but then 3 plays that you want to do.
So 3 films I love. I love, in no particular order, The Pope of Greenwich Village.
Oh,
that's probably my favorite, because that's when I looked at the screen at 11 years old and went, I could do that. I think I could do that. So
I could see a young Ronnie Marmo getting
Eric Roberts and Mickey Rourke in their prime had that scene with the thumb and the cutoff, and and the way the two cousins relate to each other, I was like, that's magic. And so I know that's kind of obscure film. Not everybody has seen it or cares about it, but the Pope of Greenwich Village, I usually pick films, not that are my favorite films, that have like affected my life.
Sure.
That's
So
great.
I love it.
Pope of Greenwich Village, like I think planted a seed that I was like, what is that? I could do that. I love one of my favorite films is Life is Beautiful, Roberto Benigni, La Vita è Bella. It's like, I don't know how anybody could discuss the Holocaust and make it funny. This guy's a genius, and it was a beautiful film, and especially everything going on with Israel. Bless those poor people. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. But I love Life is Beautiful. I love, I think about Raging Bull a lot because that's when I was like, I mean, to see
1980.
De Niro, I was just like, oh my God, he's incredible. Like, you know, so I think like I love Goodfellas. I love The Godfather. Those are, but those to me like guarantees and obvious. I'm talking about the ones that affected me on some level that I have to do. You know?
I love that.
Great answers. Great answer.
Yeah.
And
we were just talking to Fugelsang about that time period.
Yeah, we were. We were just talking about the
This is the
1980.
weirdest day. Everybody's interviews
are
in. It's like, did you listen to the last person?
Yeah,
because you
'cause
guys
John
all
Fugelsang-
read.
The films like that anymore. They don't write those scripts like that anymore. They can't do Taxi Driver again. They can't do what was the great film with Pacino? Serpico. Today the movie would be 45 minutes too long, but the work. There was no cutting, no editing. The work between actors was beautiful. Nobody wants to see that now. I'm like, are you crazy? That's why we keep talking about them, because I think actors who love this appreciate what that was, and we don't have that anymore. It's too much.
And Ronnie, the way they were shot too. It was a lot of wide, medium, wide shots, right? It was like you were watching a theater, or excuse me, a stage performance in film. Right?
I always talk about The Deer Hunter. The first 15 minutes of The Deer Hunter, it's like this giant crazy wedding. You don't even know what's going on, but you can't look away. And then all of a sudden they get into the movie and you're like, what the hell am I in for?
You know, I'll tell you a quick something. John Savage has become a friend, and there's a line he did in The Deer Hunter that I still use as emotional prep when I have to get emotional. He did a line I'll never forget. Remember when he was in Deer Hunter and he turns to De Niro and they're in the tank, you know, underneath and the rats are everywhere, and he says, "Michael, I want to go home." He says, "I want to go home," and De Niro goes, "It's okay." I still use that. It gets me like it works me up because I understand. You know, there's like these little triggers, and so I love that film, man, Deer Hunter. And as far as theater goes, you know, there's so many. I mean, now that I'm of this age, I really want to do A View from the Bridge. I think I'm old enough to play Eddie now. I've always wanted to play Eddie.
Nice.
So I saw Anthony LaPaglia do it, and Brittany Murphy and Allison Janney 28 years ago. But I want to do that. There's so many. I mean, I don't sing. Obviously, if I could play a part in Hamilton and not sing, I would do it. But
play the mute president.
Exactly.
Just learn how to rap.
But even like Rent, right? I'm not a singer, but that musical, when it came out, I'll never forget it. It was like, because I was like, I don't like musicals. Musicals are stupid. And then I saw Rent, I was like, oh my God, I love this, you know. And then suddenly it like opened my world. So Rent is one of those that on the surface would be like, so what? But like anything that affects me so much that it changes me and makes me go in a new direction is what I love. And so Rent is that for me. It opened up. Then I went to see Les Mis and all these musicals that have nothing to do with like this rock musical.
Right.
But stuff like that. So I'm more affected. I could appreciate art for art, but my favorites are the ones that actually
did something to you.
Yeah. And move me in a new direction. Yeah.
I love it. Great answers. Great answers.
This was a great episode.
Yeah. Ronnie. Thank you so much. Janelle, can Janelle pop her head in and say hi real quick?
My beautiful wife.
Your beautiful wife.
Here she is.
There she is. Hey, Janelle.
Hey.
This is Janelle Marmo, and she's also in our TV series Unsuited. So glad to. And you know what, Janelle? Next time we're gonna have both of you guys on. All right, we're gonna have both of you
I
guys
won't
on.
do it if she's on. I won't do it.
I'm gonna upstage you.
You know you're gonna upstage her. Look at her. She's so beautiful. She's
Uh,
funny. She's talented. I forget her. I'll disappear in the air.
that's great. That's
As long
great.
as
Well,
he
guys,
says all those things.
what's that?
As long as he says all of those things from the top all over again, I'm good.
Yeah. But thank you guys for having me and having us. And I wish you
Yeah.
luck on this awesome endeavor you guys are doing. I think it's cool.
Yeah, we're having some fun with it. We'll see. We'll see how our audience reacts, and we think we're trying to just open up, talk about different things when it comes to theater, film, independent theater. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Our show is brought to you by our sponsor, Cream Ridge Golf Course, which is in Cream Ridge, New Jersey. It is also owns the restaurant called The Roost. So you go out to play about 18 holes and then go right across not even across the streets, right there to the Roost restaurant, get some good food, some good live entertainment, especially on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. So
check it out.
So guys, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon. Hope
Tom,
you guys
call me
enjoy.
later. Mark, lose my phone number. All right.
Take care, guys.